Welcome to Impact Makers Radio, featuring industry thought leaders sharing problem-solving insights to help grow your business and live the life you love. And here's your host, Stewart Andrew Alexander.
Hi, and welcome to another Let's Talk Retirement conversation. And on this segment of the show, ladies and gentlemen, I am so pleased to announce that we finally have Bob Mauk, financial advisor at Chornyak Associates Limited, all the way from Columbus, Ohio. Now, Bob will be talking to you today about retirement planning. So if you are one of the increasing numbers of people approaching retirement age, thinking about retirement, thinking about your options after and during retirement, it might be a good idea for you just to take a break, log out of Facebook, Twitter, or anything else you happen to be doing which may cause a distraction, and get ready to listen in to what Bob has to share with us today. So, he's a busy man. Let's not keep him waiting any longer. Bob, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Stuart. I appreciate the time to come and talk to you.
You are so welcome, Bob. So let's just jump feet first in. Briefly, in your own words, describe the kinds of people who you serve and the various types of situations they find themselves in when they come to you for your help.
Stuart, one of the things I like about our organization here is that we will meet with anybody who needs help. And so anybody that needs help in a financial arena, we will meet with. If there is not anything we can do to help them, then we can sometimes or many times point them in a direction where they can get help. But I will tell you that many times the direction we head is towards retirement planning. We have many, many people that are either at or near retirement, and we think we've gotten pretty good at being able to manage those retirements.
Okay, so now that we have a general idea of who you can help them, Bob, it goes without saying that anything you share with us today from this point on is not legal advice or legal assistance. It's purely for the purpose of disseminating information. Can we both agree on that today then, Bob?
I would certainly agree with that.
With that said, then, when you think about those people who are listening right now, those people who are thinking about their retirement options, people approaching retirement and so on, when they come to you for your help, Bob, what's the most common misconception that you come across on a day-to-day basis?
Well, the biggest issue that we run into is that people don't know how to handle a pot of money in terms of generating a retirement income. Unless you're a teacher or work for the government, you don't have pensions anymore. Our parents had pensions. We don't have pensions anymore. What we get are pots of money. And what people don't seem to know how to handle is, what do I do with a pot of money, whether it be $200,000, whether it be $2.5 million? What do I do with that pot of money to help me have a sustained, comfortable retirement?
So based on what you just shared with us then, Bob, and obviously keeping your client's confidentiality in mind, please share an example or a case study, so to speak, of how you have helped, or even how you would go about helping somebody who came to you with that challenge or that misconception you just described, and what kind of transformational results you were able to, or, in general, would be able to gain for them.
That's a good question, Stuart. Probably 20 years ago or so, we had a client who had been with us at that point for probably 15 or 20 years, who was just coming in to pick up her income tax return. And she was sitting in front of me. She's mid-60s at the time. She's working as a nurse. She was widowed. She was worn out, and she was tired, and she was down, and she was a little depressed. And she looks at me and she says, "How do people retire? I don't know how people can even retire." And I'll call her Pat, and I said, "Pat, let's get this tax season behind us. We'll take a look at your situation. We'll see if we can get you out." So, a month or two later, we get together. What we see is what we normally see, and that is that when you take somebody's wage income and you take their net income from there, it's quite a bit less than the gross income because they're paying federal tax, they're paying state tax, they're paying local tax in Ohio, they're paying Social Security tax, they're paying Medicare tax. A lot of times they're making contributions to retirement plans. And so what we did was we took a look at what was her net paycheck, what was her Social Security going to be at that point in time, what asset base, what investment base did she have, and what could she draw on that asset base on a monthly basis that would allow that asset base to maintain its value over an extended retirement. And what we found out was that once you took income out of the investments, once you started Social Security, once you calculated the much lower tax liability on those incomes than your wage income, what we found was that we could generate income for her between Social Security and investment income that was very similar to what her take-home pay was. And so she ended up retiring within the next month or two with an income that was no lower than what it was when she was working. That was probably 20 years ago. Her asset base has continued to hold its value. That income has continued to come out for her, and she's been a different person over the last 20 years. She's now probably 86 years old, and she's been a different person.
So just as a reminder, my guest today is financial advisor Robert Mauk, commonly known simply as Bob to friends and colleagues, and he's from the Chornyak Associates Limited in Columbus, Ohio. And today's topic is, funnily enough, retirement planning. So with that in mind then, Bob, and for those people who are listening in right now, please share one common, and I know there's just so many pitfalls that you could share with us today. However, just please share one of the common pitfalls that they need to be aware of, no matter what situation they find themselves in.
Well, you're right, Stewart. There are a lot of pitfalls that people can find themselves in. But if I wanted to highlight one, I would say that you have to manage that pot of money that you have. And the first step is you got to manage that amount that you're withdrawing, either monthly or quarterly or annually or as needed, because that pot of money has got to last the average person 20 to 30 years in retirement. So the person I just talked about, Pat, was 65, 66 when we first put together some retirement planning numbers for her. That's been 20 years. I mean, she's in her mid to late 80s now, and her pot of money has held its value. So she's had a lot of retirement she's had to fund. So the first thing is you got to understand what you can take out of that pot of money on a monthly basis or on a periodic basis, because like it or not, if you're 60, 63, 65 years old, there's a high likelihood you're going to be around until you're in your mid-80s to 90 years old. And you've got all that time that you've got to fund. So you got to be careful in the early years that you don't draw that money down too fast and you find yourself at the age of 83 running out of money and almost hoping that you die before you run out of money.
Yeah, how do you pinpoint that then, Bob? I mean, you don't know how long you're going to live. You know how much money you have in that pot, but how would you be able to even make a somewhat of an accurate estimate or a guess when it comes to withdrawing that money out of your pot of available funds?
Well, you're exactly right, Stuart. Nobody knows how long you're going to live. And perfect retirement income planning would be what? That last check you write on the day you die bounces. Okay? But until you can tell us what day that is, we generally assume you're going to live forever. So we don't choose some arbitrary date in the future and say, we're going to make the money last until you're 95 years old or 98 years old. We just assume you're going to live forever because our experience is that most retirees, as they get to be 75 or 80 or 85 years old, they don't want to see that pot of money eroding. They want to see it hold its value. So we try to structure it in such a way that the pot of money doesn't erode and go away. The industry has sort of settled on being able to withdraw 4% a year. That is, that's a general guide, but every person's situation is different. Some people, it might be more like 3%. Some people, it might be more like 5 or 6%, depending on their age and their circumstance. Some people are okay with some minor erosion for the first 10 years or so while they're healthy and they think they're going to travel and they want to do some things. But you got to factor all that into your retirement plan. So, we kind of start with 4% and then kind of adjust it up or down, depending on each person's situation.
Right. So, Bob, when you think about all the clients that you've helped to achieve the transformation they were looking for when they initially reached out to you for your help, on a deep down personal level then, Bob, what does it give you and how does it actually make you feel?
Oh, it's tremendous. I mean, this is the best business in the world. And for me, it's a great business because what I've learned about myself is that I'm a people person, okay? I love my clients. I love these people that I work with, that I deal with. And I wouldn't have known that 25 years ago, but I now know that at my age. So to see people that I truly like, that I truly have fun with, I mean, when we sit here and have review meetings, we'll spend 20, 30 minutes just shooting the breeze before we even get to any business, and the business might only be 10 or 12 minutes. So it gives a tremendous amount of satisfaction to see people who either didn't think they could retire or didn't know they were going to retire or didn't know how to retire, to be able to quit working, to generate income every month, to have some comfort in their life, and at least know that this is likely going to be able to work for them.
So you just mentioned briefly 25 years as a practicing financial advisor. So spend a brief moment telling us a little bit more about yourself then, Bob, and especially your formal education and your experience as it relates to the topic of financial planning. Well,
I'm a graduate of the Ohio State University, go Bucks, with a finance major, and I went straight into the financial planning business back in 1985. Right. So it's really been 32 years. So,
wow, okay.
32 years of either... I
stand corrected, Bob. I stand corrected.
Right. 32 years, right. But 32 years of sitting in front of live people, helping people with this, or helping other people, get prepared for their meetings to sit in front of live people. It's kind of what I did earlier in the year. So when I allude to 25 years, that's probably the time I've actually been sitting face-to-face with clients. I had a few years ahead of that, helping other people get ready to sit with their clients.
Gotcha.
So my formal education is finance degree from Ohio State, but the real education, and the certified financial planner designation, but the real education is just sitting in front of real life people on a day-to-day basis, kind of understanding where their head is, understanding what works for them, understanding how to help them to get to retirement, and helping them understand and having an understanding of what the tax impact of that is going to be. So, that check they get every month, how much of that is really theirs and how much of that goes to the government.
So when you think about those people who you have those one-on-one conversations with them, Bob, what final thoughts would you like to leave them with before we move on to our last question for today?
We have a lot of people who are they love retirement. Retirement to them doesn't necessarily mean they sit on the couch in front of the TV. It doesn't mean that they sit on the front porch. It means that they're able to get out and do what they want to do. I got one client I call my retirement mentor, right? He's the age of 60 in Ohio. You can go take classes at public universities for free. He's taken every history and art history class at Ohio State and has probably been to half the places they talk about. He gets out and does a lot of things. He's got timeshares around the world. He's out and he's busy. So, there's a lot to be done out there. There's a lot to see. There's a lot to do. And you pull the trigger and you get retired. I ask my people, what are you doing all day? And the answer I always get, Stewart, is I don't know how I ever had time to work. And so that is a great place to be after a lifetime of work.
So if there is somebody out there who's listening right now, Bob, and they're considering their options for retirement, what's the best way for them to reach you? How can they connect with you, Bob?
Probably the best way is a telephone call. I mean, it's 614-888-2121, or you can go to our website, www.chornyak.com, chornyak.com, and we can have a conversation and see if there's a fit.
Fantastic. So that's all we have time for today. Once more, that was financial advisor Bob Mauk. Thank you so much for sharing so generously with us today, Bob. You have certainly demonstrated that you are a true educator and trustworthy advisor for your clients' success. So thank you.
Thanks, Stewart. That's my pleasure.
You are so welcome, Bob. And I'd also like to take a moment to say a big thank you to you. Yes, the listener. If you're that kind of person who's approaching retirement right now, hopefully you found today's show to be very useful. So thank you for joining us on, what I can only describe as a very insightful and informative conversation with one of the leading financial advisors in the Columbus, Ohio area today. Again, his name is Bob Mauk. Make sure you do check him out. Give him a call. He shared his phone number. Visit his website. There's some great resources on there. I'm sure that whatever you do decide to do after listening to Bob for a short while today, you are going to be in good hands. So that's it for today, folks. Again, my name is Stewart Andrew Alexander, and we'll be back shortly with some more leading financial planning professionals in this, our series of Let's Talk Retirement Conversations. So until then, take care, have a great day, and we'll talk real soon.
Thank you for tuning in to Impact Makers Radio. To listen to all past, present and future industry thought leaders and trendsetters, visit us at impactmakersradio.com.